Hello guys, welcome back to the Eat Like Ruby podcast. I am back today with a guest, and it has been a minute since I have had a guest in the studio, and it's been more than a minute since we've had this guest. Welcome back, Coach Shaq.
The main guest.
Oh, I was like, what's he going to say? What is he going to say? Something random. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for coming back. A little bit random as well. I literally just said to Shaq this morning, do you want to record this episode with me? So put him on the spot, but I think it'll be cool.
Yeah, it'd be good.
We are going to do a bit more of a training chat, and we're going to look specifically at my training program at the moment. And in the most recent episode, I did a big training chat just to kind of like refresh everyone's mind about like the point of training and how to get the most out of our training. And I spoke in that episode about like wanting to sort of work through a structured program and have phases of really looking at like technique and range and things like that, but then have phases of like cranking up the weight and hitting the PBs and then refining technique at times, pushing weight at times, and just kind of settling into that cycle.
Yeah.
And really just making sure that people kind of understand the benefits of a structured training program. Yep. And then that's why I thought, well, it'd be cool to come in today and go through my program and just kind of riff on why certain things are in there and what I think about, etc., as a bit of an example to back up that convo. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I feel like we're going to go into a lot of tangents because this is what Shaq does for a living, is programming and like teaching structured programs.
Yeah. Smart training.
And it's like what I've done my whole life. It's like the one thing that we're both obviously into nutrition and training, but we do a lot of different stuff in nutrition and training.
Yeah.
But this is probably the one thing that we're both like in agreement on and do.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But before we get started, this is really random as well. I wasn't planning this until about 5 minutes ago. But we got sent a promo pack from Macro Mike. I've actually never really used their stuff. And then they reached out and said they were launching like cereal flavored protein powders and they wanted to send some. And I don't, like, a bit of a side note already, but I don't do that many promos or like say yes to things like that. Like the amount of people that reach out to us is crazy, but so often people will reach out and be like, oh, we want to send you this package of like sugar-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, etc. And I'm like, well, that's not really what we preach or teach. And like, I'm not against it. Like obviously some people need to eat like that, but I don't just say yes to shit for the sake of getting free shit or promos or whatever. Yeah. I think, first of all, I think it's so transparent online when people are just promoting something because they've been paid to or they've got it for free or whatever. Like you just see straight through it. So I never want to be like that. But I also I don't want that stuff. If someone wants to send me something, if I read it and go, well, I wouldn't use that, then like, no, don't send it to me. So when they reached out and said it's cereal flavored protein powder and the flavors are Cocoa Pops, Fruit Loops and Nutri-Grain. Yeah. I'm like, well, both of us pound those cereals and then we both pound protein powder. So I was like, okay, this is really on brand for us.
Yeah.
So they've sent them and we haven't tried them. We've got the Cocoa Pops one here. I was going to do like a live taste test on the mic.
Yeah, cool.
For real-time review. So I made one on milk and one on water and I made it on skim milk. These are actually, it's almond and faba bean protein. Some people say faba. I say faba. Protein. They're like plant-based.
Yeah, okay.
So the protein that we normally use is whey protein, which is obviously like dairy, like milk protein. Yeah. So this is plant-based. So we never have that. So we don't know what that even normally tastes like, let alone when it's mixed with Cocoa Pops. And then we got one on milk, one on water. Are we ready?
I'm trying it.
Do not slurp it into the mic. I cannot stand when you can hear people drinking or eating.
Milk?
I think this is milk, yeah. We'll probably cut the moment where we're actually drinking if you can hear it because I cannot stand that. That was the milk one. Let's do both each and then see our thoughts. Thoughts?
Actually, didn't mind that.
If you couldn't see that packet, would you think it was Cocoa Pops? You would?
Yeah.
You're making me laugh. I'm like choking on protein powder.
That tastes like Cocoa Pops.
Wow, go off. Good review from Shaq.
I feel like the water tastes better than milk.
Yeah, which is surprising to me because normally they always are better when they're on milk.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
I'll rate that.
Yeah, go off. I mean, Shaq literally likes KFC and chocolate bars as his two main food groups. So the fact that he likes that, that's unreal.
So shout out to KFC.
We are actively accepting taste testers for the next episode.
Next family bucket for this Sunday, please.
Okay, anyway, that was and if anyone's still with us, thanks. Now we'll get into the actual training chat. But I mean, not bad.
Yeah, I like it. I'll get it again.
Go off. I love the fact that you're saying this because I'm not saying anything. So but no, that's cool. I guess if you were like plant-based, that's pretty cool. Let's just spend one more second on it. 40 grams. 40 grams serve is 144 calories, 23 grams of protein. I mean, it's definitely not bad. You're never going to get the same like quantity and quality of protein that you would get from whey. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. Do you want that?
Yeah.
Shaq wants it, so he's definitely a fan. We're not here to talk about protein. We are here to talk about training. So I've done a few episodes recently about my own goals of going into the muscle gain focus. Woohoo!
Yeah.
And then, like I said, we did that last episode just breaking down training. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to collab the two almost and talk about what my training is going to look like. Obviously going into, I say like muscle gain focus, but really it's like shape building. I want to change my shape, which is hard and is going to take a long time. That's why I said in that episode, like I'm looking at 10 plus months of working towards that because I'm not just going to change my shape in a few weeks. So when I say change my shapes, I really just want a bit more size through my hips and ass, really.
Yeah.
Because I've got big shoulders. I've got a naturally small waist, but then I've got naturally narrow hips, and then obviously I've got really muscly legs. So I feel like a lot of that is, I mean, subjective, depends what you're into, but a lot of that is what people think is like the dream physique, like big shoulders, tiny waist, but then it's my little narrow hips and ass that I'm not loving, which is fine. Got work to do.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, but so I'm going to obviously focus on that for the 10 plus months, really just seeing where I'm at as I come up towards that 10-month mark and being like, am I keeping this going? Am I switching it up, etc.? But I'm going to dedicate the 10 months to it and then go from there.
Yeah.
So I've spoken about my nutrition, obviously like eating higher calories, not really tracking my food at the moment, and I spoke about that heaps in the recent episodes. So if we look at training, my training is a little bit, I don't want to say random, but a little bit random in this first training block. So I'm training in 10-week blocks, and this first block is a little bit of almost like I would say like a primer or like prepping me for the next block is where I feel like the real work is going to start to happen and the change is going to start to occur.
Yeah.
For two reasons. So reason number one, I do have my torn rotator cuff. It is definitely getting better. I think about like 2 months ago compared to now.
Yeah, way better.
So much better. When I first did it, I couldn't even like do my hair or anything. So it's basically better. I'd say it's maybe got, at this point in time, it's probably got about 3 or 4 weeks left.
Yeah.
Until I can do most things with it again, which is really cool. So at the moment, I'm literally just doing like the band exercises and exercises with like 1 or 2 kilo dumbbells. I do them every day, some of them twice a day. Like it's quite tedious. It's quite painful in terms of like boring.
Yeah.
But I always commit to rehab because I just think, God, the last thing you want is like an ongoing injury. I've had that and it's a nightmare.
I was pain in the ass.
So it is, even though the exercises are annoying, they're annoying for like 10 minutes a day. And it's like, just suck it up and do it and then get it better.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much my upper body. And I've combined those exercises with my ab stuff. I love to do abs. Like some people don't have time or energy or they just can't be bothered fitting in ab work. I've never really been like that. I love including specific ab exercises.
Yeah.
So I've just kind of comboed my ab stuff with my rehab, and I'm calling that like upper and abs at the moment, but I'm not doing really any heavy exercises on my upper body because I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I've got my lower body exercises, which is what I feel like we really want to talk about because that's the goal she's got.
Yeah.
And so when I said I'm treating this program like a bit of a primer, a bit of a prepper, if you will, I feel like I might have touched on this in recent episodes. I'm getting deja vu, but I spoke a little bit about the fact that I have had glute injuries way back in the day. And it's kind of led to like 2 things that I'm trying to work on now and essentially like undo or just fix. The first one just being that, well, actually 3. The big first one just being that like my glutes seem to be lagging compared to the rest of my body because they just missed out on like a year of training, which is why I pretty much want to give them a real good focus for a year of training.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first one. But really specifically, like I feel like the position they're in right now is they are just that bit weaker because they've been through injury, especially on that right side. because they went through injury and just lost a lot of strength, lost a lot of, their ability. And my legs are so strong around them. It's so easy for my hammies and quads and everything else to just kick in and do the work.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like so mindful of this. And I said in recent episodes, it's easy for me to get caught up in a muscle gain phase with just being like, oh, I'll just keep building my hammies and quads and stuff because they do build quite easily. And then it's almost like a bit of a quick fix ego hit of like, well, wow, what a successful muscle gain phase, because now those things are even bigger.
Yeah.
But I don't really want those things to get even bigger while my glutes keep lagging.
Yeah, okay.
So that's really the point of this phase, is to be like, no, don't work specifically on those things just for like the quick fix, and don't let them do the work in the glute exercises, because you want the glutes to do the work.
Yeah.
But that's where I kind of had to stop and go, okay, cool. Well, what do I have to do now to get my glutes working a bit more? And I feel like it's like I just said, it's that weakness, but then it's also, and I think a lot of people can relate to this for different injuries, but it's also that like wiring in your brain, or that movement pattern and that habit that you have to protect yourself once you've had an injury. And like the most perfect example, and again, I think a lot of people can relate to this. When I had my glute injuries, it led to a bit of like hip pain, lower back pain especially. And now I just know that when I go into things like RDLs and deadlifts, there's so much going on in my brain, like subconsciously, because I think to myself, okay, cool, you're doing this for your glutes. So like send your hips and ass back. But then my like protective layer kicks in and is like, but don't send them too far back, because what if you tear your hammy again? But then I'm like, no, send them back. And then I'm going through all this in my brain while I'm literally going through the movement. And then you start to think, oh, is that too much pressure on my lower back? Because remember when you did hurt your lower back and that was really stressful and that was really shit. So you don't want to do that again. So it's like your body does all these tiny little adjustments throughout the whole rep, because you've got all these thoughts going on of like, I want to make the most of this. Shit, I'm scared. Last time I did this, I got hurt. Or not last time, but like previously when I've done this, I've got hurt. So I don't want to push too far, but I do want to push far because I want to get the most out of the exercise. And yeah, like it's crazy. And I think a lot of people could relate to that. If you've had knee injuries, I think people do it with like squats, where they're like, oh, I want to go lower. Shit, last time I went lower, I blew out my knee. So I don't want to go lower, but I do, but I don't. Like,
yeah. 100%.
And it's sometimes it's conscious, like you are actually rotating through all those thoughts, or it's just subconscious, like your body has learnt to move in a way to protect you.
Yeah.
Like think about when you have an injury for a long time, or you experience pain for a long time, you develop ways of doing things where you do them, even just as simple as like bending down to the floor. You start to do it in a way that
saves you.
Guys, we're interrupting because Nutella is in here and he's just rolled onto his side and started snoring his head off. But no, you do start to do things in a way that protects you. And that's like your body's, designed for that.
Legit.
Like it makes sense, but that's where I've had to intercept that and go, okay, cool, that might have served me once because I was injured once. I'm not injured anymore. So you've almost got to train your body and your brain and your movement patterns and your muscles and everything to start to move in that new way again. And that's going to take time.
Yeah, 100%.
And so if we start to look at what that actually looks like with my training, there's a few specific exercises that I know I can do quite well and I can use my glutes in quite well. And for me, for this first 10-week block, I wanted to pick just a couple of those and be like, okay, cool, I'm just going to do these movements really well. And I'm not going to load them really heavy. I'm not going to go for crazy reps. I'm not going to go for like that ass kicking style of training. In terms of like the weight that my lower body can lift, the weight that I'm lifting right now isn't close to it.
Yeah.
But I'm mindful that if I was to just go like really perfect example, one exercise I've been doing is a single leg press. So I know that if I don't have any weights on it, like we all know that the machine comes with a certain amount of weight on it in the first place. I don't know what that is at our gym, but I also don't care because I just know that I jump on it with no weight and it's the same every time. So I know that if I don't put any weights on it and I go single leg and I really focus on like controlling it on the whole way down, getting it to a good depth, having control on the way back up, and really having good mind muscle connection to use my glutes, push through my heel, not let my quad kick in. Like there's so many things I think about, but I know that I can do that in a way that is going to really come from my glute. As opposed to, if we think about a single leg press, it's a push exercise. It's a lower body push exercise. Another lower body push exercise is a hack squat. At the moment, or like earlier this year, I was hack squatting heaps. That was one of my main lower body push exercises. But I know that my glutes don't do a lot of the work on there. So I know that I can hack squat like 60. I was getting up towards 70 kilos. I know that's all coming from my quads, and then my hammies kick in and probably glutes a little bit. But when I'm pushing 70 kilos with my legs on a hack squat, I know my glutes can't do it, and I can feel that they're not doing it. So that's where I had to look and just be like, okay, cool. Well, let's say I kept that in there, for example. What's going to happen? I'm going to keep using and therefore building the things that I don't really want to build too much right now. I eventually do want to build more size in my legs, but I want my glutes to catch up to them first.
Yeah.
And so that's where I had to strip it back and go, okay, cool. Well, if I spend the first 10 weeks like this first program of my muscle gain focus working on that single leg press and just over and over and over, like every rep, the point of reps, and this is something that I said the other day, like the point of training is repetition, and the point of repetition is how we work towards progression. Because I was talking in that episode the other day about people who love to change their training every week or think that they should change their training every week, and just saying how that like literally defeats the purpose of training.
Yeah.
Because again, the point of training is to get better at something. So when I'm on that single leg press, I'm like, okay, what do I want to get better at? I want to get better at using my glutes. So for literally every rep, I'm conscious and I'm aware of the control and the depth and what muscles I'm using and how I'm positioning my body to actually get what I want to get out of it.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like if we fast forward a little bit, maybe in the next 10-week program, or maybe it'll be the one after, like I'll just see how I'm feeling. Then I could go back to the hack squat or go to some other lower body push exercise and load it a little bit more. But know that when I do that, my glutes are going to be working a bit better.
Yeah.
And a really similar thing with my lower body pull exercises. So when we pull weight with the lower body, we're looking at RDLs, deadlifts, back extensions, any sort of hinge like that. Again, like I said before, hinging became so scary to me for a long time. And that was a long time ago. But I started to develop that habit of just being like, when I go into this, I just want to protect myself.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I wanted was more lower back pain.
Yeah, and it's normal.
Yeah, I think it's normal for everybody. And then I think when you have had a lower back injury, it's really amplified.
Yeah,
and you're just like, wow, this is not worth it. So it's like your defenses kick in.
Yeah.
And
it's
so
it's a good thing, but yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like, so true. It is. That's literally like I said before, your body is like designed to protect you. But then I just had to intercept that and go, well, I don't have a lower back injury anymore. So I've got to break through this at some point in a smart way.
Yeah.
So my smart way, similar thing to the single leg press, I've been doing, I don't even know what you would call those. I'd call them like supported single leg RDLs. Do you know what I'm talking about?
They're Bulgarian RDLs.
Is that what you would actually call them? Because they are like a Bulgarian and an RDL.
That's what I call them. The Bulgarian RDLs.
Shaq's decided. So if you're a gym gal, this will make sense. But basically putting one foot up behind you like you're going to do a Bulgarian, and then the other foot in front of you, instead of lowering down into the Bulgarian split squat, you hinge off that like you're doing a B stance RDL.
Yep.
But you've got that other foot up behind you. I don't know, just for some reason, I don't love the B stance, and I just find it works better for me to have that other foot up behind me, like in that Bulgarian position.
I just find,
Everyone's different.
Yeah, stance-wise,
Just for me.
get a bit wider. Like, I feel like, it works.
And so the way I do that is if I've got my right foot, say if I've got my right foot on the floor and left foot back behind me, the right foot is the one that's working in that set. And then I hold the weight in my left hand. So I hold the weight in one hand. At the moment, I think I'm doing about 14, or maybe I went to 16 kilos. And then I hold onto the rack. So I do it in the squat rack, and I hold onto the rack with my right hand. Not like I'm so mindful to not let it take my weight, but just let it take my balance or help me stabilize myself. Because remember, I was showing you that shift that my hip does. Yeah. You can see it clear as day. So if I go into a single leg exercise with my right leg being the working leg, like I said, injuries, defenses, just a long time of adjusting for that glute not being able to handle the work. My body is literally just by default adjusts so the glute doesn't have to do the work.
Yeah.
You watch, like the second I go to lower down, my hips just flick out to the right. And that's just like hip instability, which comes from weak glutes.
Yeah.
So you can just see it clear as day, and I can feel it like straight away as soon as I lower down. I'm like, I've lost it. And so that's why I started to hold on to the rack. Like I said, it's important that I don't let that rack just take my weight. Otherwise it defeats the purpose. But if I can hold on to that and just let it take a little bit of my weight and stabilize me, then what I think about is sending that right arse cheek back so insanely far. That is my one sole focus on that exercise, because I know that I want to eventually go back to doing RDLs with the ability to do that. And I know that right now when I do RDLs, I do not do that. So that is literally the point, is like learn and teach your body how to do this by using your glute, and teach your body that it's safe to do this.
Yeah.
And that just kind of ties in, like you guys might think we're off on a big tangent here, but it ties in with everything we spoke about the other day of the point of training being, like I said, repetition and consistency to get better at something. So right now I want to get better at using my glutes, and I want to get better at the big lifts that I know are going to build my glutes. And then if we piece all this together, I want to build shape and build size through my hips and ass, like I keep saying. But I know that right now if I just lift heavy weights, they're not going to do a lot of the work because of all the reasons I just spoke about. So then therefore they're not going to get that growth that I want. So I had to really strip it right back and go, if I'm going to program in 10-week blocks, which I am and which I do, that first 10-week block literally just has to be about getting these working better.
Yeah.
And then as I get to the end of that, if I feel like they're working really well, I might progress to bigger shit. If I feel like they've still got some work to do, maybe there's another stepping stone towards bigger shit. Maybe I run the same program again. It's just going to depend on where I'm at as I get towards the end of that. But it's so important to understand the point of your training. And I guess what we're looking at here right now is probably a bit more advanced training, because if you've just started in the gym or you've just started in the last few months, you're probably not thinking about all these things on the level that we are right now.
Yeah.
But I just think it's cool to kind of understand this stuff and just look at like the big picture. Like I've said in a few episodes, this is a big goal of mine, and it's not going to be a quick fix. It's going to be these little tedious light exercises for a while.
Yeah.
And then eventually build them up. Like I said, go to the next stepping stone, eventually build them up. And I would love to, early next year or in the first few months of next year, I would love to be back on the hack squat. I'd love to be doing heavy RDLs, heavy hip thrusts. We'll get to them in a second. But doing all those things and knowing that I'm just doing them so well.
Yeah.
And really then progress with those exercises through that 10-week cycle of like, okay, cool, you've refined the technique. Now you can load these things up. Scale them back a little bit, double check that technique, load them up again. I want to have like 3 cycles of that before I deem whether this focus is, whether I've achieved my goal or not. But to get to the point of having those 3 cycles, I've got to do this work first.
Yeah.
Hence why is a big goal. Thoughts, comments?
Nah, it's good. I like it. It's just smart and just using your head more than anything, like not going into that shit phase of doing more.
Yeah, and I said in those other episodes, so easy for me to just jump on a leg extension, like at the end of my session, or even when I'm programming my sessions, just be like, chuck in a few leg extensions, because it's so easy to me, and I know I could get a little bit of more gain on my quads and stuff, but that's why you got to take the ego away and also really look at the bigger goal. Like my bigger goal isn't to just keep building the things that are already bigger.
Yeah.
Well, like make the things bigger that are already big.
Legit.
So you kind of got to pull it all apart and rebuild.
Yeah. Don't look at it as a day goal. Look at it as a week or a month goal.
Oh, I'd say it's months.
Oh, months and months.
Plural.
That's why it's like a checklist.
Oh, okay. And then my next exercise, actually the very first exercise in my lower body day, I skimmed over, which is my cable abductions.
Oh, yep.
I always do those first, and this is a little bit of a unpopular opinion, I would say, in the fitness industry. Most people do these towards the end. So cable abduction, most people know, is like on the cable, out to the side. I feel like I could do a whole episode on these. I do, because so many people do these in so many different ways, and so many people do them wrong. There's so much to look at with these. You're laughing. Why are you laughing?
No, it's just I can see why people do that wrong.
Why?
Oh, you see, when you go to a gym, a 24/7 gym, you can see all the different form, shapes doing it.
Yeah, everyone does it really differently, and there is different ways you can do it, but we won't get into that today. We'll keep it here. We'll keep it specific to me. But cable abduction, small movement. It should be a small movement, because you're trying to work the glute med predominantly and the glute min a little bit, which is what people can talk about as like the shelf or like the outer upper part of the booty. And then you've got the glute max as like the big glute in the back, right? So when we work, we can break this down for a little bit here. When we want to work the glutes, we want to factor in 4 specific movements of pushing weight with the lower body, pulling weight with the lower body, thrusting or like some sort of bridge movement, and then abduction. Those first 3, the push, the pull, the thrust, are predominantly going to work the glute max. And they're going to work other little things as well, like the glute med might kick in. Obviously, when we push weight with the lower body, we usually use a bit of quad. When we pull weight with the lower body, we usually use a bit more hammy. So other things are going to factor in. But if you really want to like cover the glutes and give them a good sesh, you want those 4 movement patterns in there.
Yep.
So the abduction is the smaller one that isolates that glute med and that glute min a bit more. It's not so much glute max. So that's a smaller muscle. And usually, like I said, people do it at the end because it's like a little finisher, if you will. It's like doing a big back session and then doing bicep curls.
Yeah.
So most people do it at the end for that reason, and that's awesome. The reason I do mine at the start is because the injury that I did have was actually to my glute min, which is so random. But I know that I've got so much evidence to support this. I did it for a long time. If I do them at the end of the session, I literally cannot do them. Like my glutes are cooked. I can't stand well enough on my supporting leg because it's just fried. And then I can't actually use the muscles that I want to use on that glute because they're just cooked from the rest of the session. They're just fatigued. They're fatigued already because they're weak, hence why we're having this whole conversation.
Yeah.
But then by the time they get to the end of a session, they're exhausted and they don't move too well.
Yeah.
So I picked up on that and I was like, okay, I need to move these to the front because this is a main focus for me, is strengthening this muscle for the aesthetic, but also because that's where the actual injury was.
Yeah.
So I've moved them to the front of my session. I do them first and I love it. I can tap into them so well. I can do that so well. I can isolate them so well. Some days I can't. Like I have an off bad day with them and it pisses me off. But that just proves to me that it's good that I'm working on them. Like there is still work to do there and I am getting better at it. But, you know, you have those days where you're just like, oh, that muscle doesn't want to work that well. I can't get to it. I can't use it the way I want to. It just shows that it does still have a bit of work to do. It's still lagging a bit.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but so I do them at the start. Then I usually go into those single leg press and then those single leg supported RDLs, whatever we want to call them. And then I hip thrust at the end. And for my hip thrust lately, I've been using the hip thrust machine at the gym. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, okay. Why?
I just feel like I like the positioning of it. Like I can get my glutes to work quite well. It's quite comfy. And I just feel like it's so much easier to set up. So many of my clients ask me, here's a little lesson here, but so many of my training girls ask me like, is there pros and cons to using it compared to the barbell? And I always say to them like, not really, because it's going to work you through that same movement pattern. But if mentally it's way easier for you to load up the machine instead of get like a whole barbell. Think about setting up a barbell hip thrust. It can be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, true.
Depending on your gym and how busy it is and the setup and all that, sometimes it's fine, but sometimes it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And so if you can just chuck the plates on the machine and rip in, that can be like, it can just keep you in a better mood. I'm a very, very big believer in like not wanting to have shit in your training that's going to put you in a bad mood or put you off before you even do the lift.
Yeah.
I said in the last episode that I always ask my girls when we're writing a new program, is there anything you're just sick of and want to break from? Because if you're going into exercises in that mentality of like, oh, this thing's such a pain in the ass, it's going to affect your training. It's going to affect your lift.
Yeah.
And I think people get that mentality when they go into a hip thrust, if they've got to do like a massive setup in their gym and like drag equipment around, try and find a spot. Like there's a lot to it.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And I mean, if you have to do it, it's fine. And so many chicks do it, like go off. I did it for a long time. But then when I started using the machine, I was just like, wow, this is just so much easier. Like mentally it's easier. And then I can put the energy into the lift.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah. So they're probably the one thing that I'm doing like heavy-ish, I would say. I'm doing them around 70 to 80 kilos at the moment. My heaviest hip thrusts are up in the hundreds, like 120, I think, sort of at my peak. But again, just wanting to make sure that I'm literally feeling my glutes on every rep. Like I will not take that weight up. I'll take the weight down if I'm not feeling it, because I don't want to get caught in that cycle of like chasing the heavy weight, chasing the PB, and not actually getting what I want to get out of the exercise. If I was to go in there today and be like, yeah, let's put 100 on, it would be more like momentum and my whole body getting behind that weight to get it up. It wouldn't be working my glutes as well as 70 is.
Yeah.
And there's a lesson in that right there. I said in the last episode, people can get in that cycle of getting addicted to the PBs and just thinking that like that's the only way to progress. Think about that comment I just said. My glutes will get a better workout and get more benefit from a 70 kilo hip thrust right now than they would from a 100 kilo hip thrust right now, because that's where their edge is. Like my glutes alone, that's the edge of the weight that they can lift well. So if I keep cranking that weight up just for the sake of cranking that weight up or thinking that that's the best way to progress, yes, the weight technically on paper has progressed, but I'm not going to actually progress with my goal of building my glutes because they've started to tap out.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we can only do 70 and now you're pushing 80, 90, 100. We've tapped out and other shit's tapped in.
Yeah.
So is that really progress?
No.
Know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, and that's kind of comes back to what I was talking about in that last episode, where even if you don't have injuries or you don't have major things like what we're talking about here, not major, but if you're actually in a good place and you are doing heavy lifts and stuff, that's awesome. But that's where you always just want to come back at times to the technique. And I was saying in that episode, Shaq, that if we look at a 10-week program, we want to have those initial weeks of scaling weight back a little bit, check the technique, check that the depth is good, range is good, all that is good. Then spend a few weeks building back up through the weight, hit some new heavy weights, hit some PBs if we can, and then go through that cycle again, bring it back again, build it back up over a few weeks, bring it back, check the tech, check the depth, get all that sorted, build it up again. You step back and you look over a year of training. And it's like, think about it like, you know, one step back in those initial weeks when you scale the weight back a little bit and check everything. And then you take 3 steps forward throughout that 10-week program. And then you take 1 step back again at the start of a new program where you check everything and work on those other things. And then you take 3 steps forward again. Yeah. And again, you step back over a year and it's like, yes, I took these like incremental steps back at times to work on other things. They're not even steps back. They're just steps in a different direction to work on another part of the lift. I think people just think that the heavy weight is the only thing to work on in a lift. But if heavy weight or chasing heavy weight is leading you to lose your depth and your range of motion and your technique, then you're not actually making that much progress.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do you know what I mean? And a perfect example is like squats. You know, if you think about people just going more and more and more weight on the squat, but squatting less and less lower over time.
Yeah,
and then it's like if you're like, oh, I squatted, you know, if we think about a dude that's maybe like, oh, I used to squat 100, now I squat 150. And you're like, yeah, but you used to squat 100 well, and now you squat 150 for half reps.
Yeah.
So is it really progress?
But no, you're just cheating yourself.
Yeah, so I think it's just important to just understand all of those things, and you can play around with different shit at different times. I think that's the cool thing as well when you get to this level with your training. And I think of so many of my gym gals, when people don't understand training, I feel like you'll have a lot to say about this. When people don't understand training, they can get in that quite like scattered energy of like, the more I do, the better, and I need the best workout, and I need the most workout, I need the most exercises. It's very like frantic. And then when you really start to understand training, you can understand that you can just take it in any direction you want at any time. Like for me to just come in and go, you know what, I've actually got work to do on using certain muscles, so I'm going to spend this 10-week program on that.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I've said so much lately, I said it again in Monday's episode, when you are not thinking about training as like burning calories, burning energy, burning fat, etc., you understand that your training is so much better like viewed as working towards things like that. Like, do I have a muscle imbalance? Do I have a weakness? Do I work towards that? Or do I just want to grow a big fat ass? Do I work towards that? Do I want to grow big shoulders? You can decide what it is you want to work towards, and you're not thinking about training as like burning fat and burning calories.
Yeah, because I feel like most people will look at training twice a day on the same muscle. If you can train once and hit all the main points, like control, focus, all the things, you're not training twice a day on the same muscle joint.
No, well, I get what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying. I think all training should be structured and intentional and have a reason for being in there. And the reason shouldn't be for the sake of doing more. Because when we say don't train twice a day, well, think about when you train for an Ironman, you train 3 times a day.
Yeah. And
But that's very intentional. You're not training 3 times a day to burn calories or be like, how much training can I do? You're like, no, I'm going to swim. And that swim is very structured. And then I'm going to lift weights on my lower body. And then I'm going to do, whatever the hell else you're doing. Like everything's very structured. It's not just training for the sake of training or for doing more.
yeah, it's all that smart structure that we just need.
Yeah, I cannot stress enough, guys. Every single thing you do with your training should be intentional and should have a purpose. And I said a few weeks ago in the fat loss training combos, if your intent or your purpose is just like social fitness and mental health, that's fine as well. Because I think sometimes people can hear these combos and then be like, should I have all these like big intricate goals? And like if you do, that's awesome. But if you're like, oh no, I just like to go to my gym because it's my me time or my friends go there, that's my social thing, that's fine as well. But you always want to understand what it is that you personally want to get out of your training. Know that that can change over time. Like if you want to work towards different goals at different times, that's unreal. But you always want to understand truly what is required for that goal and not fall into that mindset or the habit of like, the more I can go, the better. And I'm doing this to burn calories or burn fat.
Yeah. It's
Because training can just be used so much more intelligently than that.
yeah, 100%. It's
What were you going to say? I feel like you just laughed. Were you laughing?
come on, it's just stupid how people do that mindset. Like I get it,
But
but
yeah, and I feel like Shaq is saying this because he's thinking of people that he knows that just do
Yeah, and
unnecessary amounts of shit. But I always
do-
just want to say, like, if there are people listening, because people don't know what they don't know and they don't know what we
Yeah.
know. Like they haven't studied what we've studied, and that's fine. If we went to their jobs, we'd look like idiots, right?
Legit.
So I always want to point out to people, like, if you are in that mentality, that makes so much sense, because just think about like diet culture for most of people's life is just like, well, go on a diet and exercise. That's how you lose weight.
Yeah.
So it makes so much sense that people fall into that mindset of like, well, obviously just the more exercise I can do, the better, especially if I have a weight loss goal.
yeah.
But that's why I like to do episodes like these, to actually explain. And I think it's always important with nutrition or training to really ask yourself, do I actually understand the processes that are happening with these things? Because it is very easy to fall into that belief of like, more exercise is better. You want to actually understand, okay, what is truly happening in my body when I exercise?
Yeah.
What happens when I lift weights? What happens when I do cardio? What happens when I do these things? What is the process? And therefore, what is that process leading to? What's occurring? What benefits am I getting? How does that align with my goal? This is why I'm obsessed with education, because we can't just get into the mindset of like, more is better. And then we say to someone, okay, well, why is more better? What actually happens when you do more exercise? Oh, I burn more fat. Well, do you? Oh, well, that's just what I've heard for years. Okay, cool. Well, how's that working out?
Yeah.
You know, and so we just want to like pull these things apart a bit more to understand them better. And then I said the other day, anyone who's going to the effort of going to gym, like I'll applaud that always.
Yeah.
But everyone's busy. Everyone's got shit on. So if you are going to the effort to go to gym or go for runs, do any sort of training, you want to know that
That's
you're
working.
Yeah, it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
And whatever you want to work towards at the time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I agree.
And I feel like this leads us to our final point. You're not allowed to get savage on this one, Jack. But by far, the most frustrating thing as a trainer is writing a structured, progressive training program for somebody based off everything we've just spoken about and everything we spoke about on Monday. And then having someone be like, yeah, cool, I love this program. I do the sessions. And then I also do XYZ, and they add shit to it. If you follow a structured, progressive training program and then you do a bunch of extra shit, you do not follow a structured program. As a professional, we write a structured program factoring in everything I've spoken about in the last 2 episodes, and everything is very intentional. Even think about what I said before, where when we look at lower body, if someone says to me, I've got glute goals, I straight away go, okay, we need to push, we need to pull, we need to bridge, we need to abduct. So we write the session accordingly based off of so many things. And we wouldn't, like, you wouldn't want to have a session. This is just one example, but I want to try and get this across to people. We wouldn't want to have a glute session that had a bunch of push exercises and no pull exercises, right?
Yeah.
Because we know what's required to move you towards the goal. So we write a program that is structured to meet those requirements. When someone then goes, oh yeah, I did that, and then I jumped on the leg press, and then I went for a run, and then I did a HIIT session on the Tuesday, and then I did this, this, and this. You no longer follow a structured program. You have messed up the structure.
Yeah, it's cooked. Yeah.
But it's important to understand, because again, I think people's intentions are good. It's like, well, I got this program and this is awesome. And then again, the more I could do, the better. Like, what if I did this program and I did a bunch of extra shit? Surely that's just got to be better. Like, that's the mentality people are in. And Shaq's going to like abuse you over here. But we want to remember, people are doing that with good intentions. People are thinking in that mindset of like, well, why wouldn't it be better for me to do more? And that's what we want to explain right now. It's not better to do more, because doing more messes up the structure.
Yeah, and definitely different like energy systems in the body too. Mm-hmm. If you drain too many systems, if you got a hard session programmed the next day, and if you've done extra shit the day before, that session's going to feel like shit.
Yeah, and I mean, that could lead into so many other convos, because then you just start to look at quantity over quality.
Yeah.
Like, the point of a structured program is quality. And even if we start to tie it back into everything else we've just spoken about, you want to go into those sessions. If we think about Monday's convo, we spoke about the fact that we want to go in and find the sweet spot of like where our edge is with pushing a certain weight. So I used the example in that episode of like, if your hip thrust at the moment is like, you can do 3 sets of 10 reps at 60 kilos. You want to sit there and then you want to try and push to 11 reps or 65 kilos. And then you want to sit there for a few sessions, and then you want to keep pushing. This is just one thing to think about, but your ability to do that is going to be optimized and increased if you are sticking to the structure of your program, because we have written the program thinking about the fact that we want you to do that. So we think, okay, if we want this person to go into the gym on Thursday and do that, what do they need to do on Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, all the days around it to be in the most optimal position when that session gets there to do that? If you have taken it upon yourself to add extra shit and do extra shit, like we keep saying, you've messed up the structure, but then you've also started to impact other sessions, because everything in the program is programmed around everything else.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like Shaq said, you're going to be exhausted if you do something on the Wednesday that wasn't planned, and then we have planned something for you on the Thursday, and you get there and you're like, I'm fried because of what I did yesterday. And we're like, what'd you do yesterday? You're supposed to have a rest day.
Yeah.
Then it starts to really mess up the structure. And then we start to fall into a position where it is about quantity over quality. We've lost the quality because we've lost the structure, because we're starting to get exhausted, because we're hitting muscles. Even if we want to go into the whole other convo of, like I touched on the other day, the point of lifting weights is to break down the muscle fibers. The way that we literally get stronger and better and more toned and fitter and all of these things is in the recovery process. We break down the muscle fibers in the session. The muscle fibers go through the recovery process, get bigger, better, stronger, etc. Then eventually we move into the next session, we break them down again, and we go through that cycle again. Again, your program has been written to optimize that structure. If you take it upon yourself to do additional sessions in between those sessions, you are cock blocking that recovery. Recovery is where your progress happens. You are cock blocking your own progress by adding additional things to your training program, because the program has been written in a structured way to move you towards your goals. When you start to mess with that structure, you mess with your own progress. Mic drop. Anything else, Coach Shaq?
I think to another side of the coin.
Oh.
If you are doing a structured program and you feel like you're not getting the same stimuli. That's it.
Stimulus or stimuli?
Tomato. I feel like if you're looking for extra shit to do, on the days off,
Oh, I love where you're going with this. I hope
you are not looking at the numbers right.
like you're not approaching your actual sessions right.
Legit. So
Yes.
it's all about the RPE.
I knew I married you for a reason. I see this a lot where people, because in our training app, you rate the sessions. And if you're constantly rating sessions as like a 5 or a 6, like that's fine at times. If you're working on technique and different things, learning and exercise, it might feel like a 5 or 6 out of 10. If you go through a whole 10-week training block and you've only pushed to a 5 or 6 out of 10, that's it right there. You've only pushed. These same exercises could be a 10 out of 10 if they were pushed in a different way.
100%.
Like to make a session harder isn't about adding more shit. It's about doing the shit that's in there more or better or harder. So if you're going through, let's look at my program. Like I just said, I do 4 exercises. That was my whole lower body program, guys. The abductions, single leg press, the single leg RDLs, and then the hip thrust. That's my lower body. And I do that same session twice a week. That's it on my lower body right now. I could rate that session 10 out of 10 if we think about my first exercise, those abductions, if I focus on using the muscle that I want to use, that is 10 out of 10 hard for me because that muscle is struggling. Then if I go to the single leg press, like I said, I don't put any weight on that. But if I'm concentrating on the depth and the range and the muscle that I want to use, etc., again, that can be 10 out of 10 hard.
Yeah.
And you carry that on throughout your whole session. Or even if you're like, okay, cool, these are maybe like not that hard. If you don't have injuries or things like that, if you're not working on anything else, if you are actually working on like pushing heavy weight, yet you're rating your sessions as a 5 or 6 out of 10, push more weight.
Legit.
And if you can't push more weight, why are they a 5 or 6 out of 10? They should be a 10 out of 10. Because if you can't push more weight, you're essentially saying this is as hard as I can go.
Yeah.
If it's as hard as you can go, then that's 10 out of 10. Like there's a disconnect there.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's such a common thing. Like you said, people get into that mindset of like, oh, that was quite easy, I'll do more. If something's easy, do it better.
100%.
Push it harder in that session and go for better quality with those things. Don't add more shit.
Legit. Like I feel like to another side, just not the gym, into running more.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing an interval or a tempo session, if you're putting everything you have into it, like me.
Weird flex, but okay.
When I do it, I'm not doing that again. It's shit because I'm putting everything I can into it, not to do it again. But someone else be like, I've done that session twice now.
Yeah, when people are like, oh, I'll do it again tomorrow. If you can do it again tomorrow, you didn't do it hard enough today.
Legit.
Like straight up.
I do a session and I don't never want to do that session again. I know how hard it is.
That's so true. And even me with my leg stuff right now, like once I've done it, I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. I don't have to do it for 2 more days.
Legit.
Because you've done it well. You've ticked it off. You've gotten what you want to get out of it. If you are like kind of effing about, twiddling your thumbs and then being like, oh, it's probably like a 5 or a 6. I could probably do that again tomorrow. It's like, well, what do you need to look at there?
Legit. Like if depends on what phase you're in, like deload or whatever. But if you're in that peak phase, like, and you're thinking about, I'm never doing that.
It's like if you're in a position where you want to push things and get something out of your training, but you're not pushing the actual structured sessions that you have, that's where you want to look first. Don't be like, oh, I should do more shit. It's like, no, I could just do the stuff that I'm doing, but better.
Yeah.
Amen, sister.
So
I think we could wrap it up, but I feel like there has been so many things that have come up in the last couple of training episodes that there's plenty more training chat to have. I think next week I'm going to be talking about training again, I think.
Yep.
Maybe. We'll see. Lots of things flood into my brain. Guys, at the moment I walk around basically podcasting in my brain all day. Shit just constantly comes into my brain. What were you going to say?
No, nothing.
Shaq, every time I'm in my office, Shaq and Nutella walk past and Shaq just goes, oh, blah, 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 calories, and keeps walking. Every time I'm in the office. So that's nice, really supportive. But that is all from us today. I hope we didn't get too ranty and too savage. But like I just keep saying, guys, I just want people to understand training so they can get the most out of it.
Yeah.
I really do. Same.
Thank you for having me back.
Thank you so much for being here. Got to get you back soon. Yeah, bring Nutella. He loves it. He's been sleeping the whole time, guys. He was asleep next to us, snoring his head off at one point, got up, walked over to his beds. Now he's literally staring at us from his beds with his eyes like half open, snoring. Story of his life. That is all from us today. I will be back next week. Maybe training chat, maybe something else. We'll see what sets me off between now and then, but I will be back then. Thank you so much. Thanks, Boo.
See you guys.
Bye. The Eat Like Ruby podcast is not a substitute for professional medical or dietary advice. The advice given in this episode is general in nature and should not be used to treat any medical conditions, health conditions, illnesses, injuries, and/or any nutrition-related conditions, deficiencies, or similar. This podcast is not to be used as or in place of medical advice or dietary advice. Please consult your healthcare professional before implementing any of the advice, information, or protocols discussed in this episode.